Hi everyone, today we are learning about the signs of trigonometric functions. Just like with all the other videos for the foldable, everything I write in black is just me explaining and everything, or another color, and everything I write in red should definitely end up on your foldable written down. So the sign of a trigonometric function, whether it's positive or negative, is dependent on the rotation angle theta. So let's say theta is this, and the quadrant in which the terminal angle lies. So let's look at our unit circle that we previously constructed. This is just copied from tab 5. Okay, and remember that all of these coordinates on the unit circle, all of these coordinates, x comma y, really represent the cosine of theta comma the sine of theta. So when we're examining the sign of the x coordinate or the y coordinate, we are really looking at the sine of the cosine theta or the sine of the sine theta. Okay, so let us look at quadrant 1. If you'll notice, in quadrant 1, all x coordinates are positive. Therefore, we can say that cosine is positive. All y coordinates are positive. Therefore, we can say that sine is positive. And since all trigonometric ratios can be rewritten as sine and cosine, we can say that, right, tangent of theta is sine theta over cosine of theta. If sine is positive and cosine is positive, then tangent of theta must also be positive. Therefore, all trigonometric functions are positive in quadrant 1. So we would say that in quadrant 1, all signs are positive, or the sign of all trigonometric functions are positive. So let's examine the sign of all the trig functions in the second quadrant. So in quadrant 2, you'll notice that all of the x coordinates, aka all of the cosines, are negative. So cosine of theta is negative in quadrant 2. All of the y coordinates, aka sine, is positive. And since tangent can be rewritten as sine of theta over cosine of theta, the sign of tangent would be, let's see, sine is positive, cosine is negative, would be negative. So we have cosine being negative and tangent being negative. So in quadrant 2, only sine is positive. Okay. Let's look at the signs in quadrant 3. I know it's kind of confusing because sine is a trigonometric function, and sine, meaning like positive or negative, is also sounds like sine, so it's like a little confusing. I apologize for that, but just try to follow along. So in quadrant 3, let's look at whether cosine is positive or negative. So let's look at the x coordinate. And in quadrant 3, all of the x coordinates are negative. That means cosine is negative. And the y coordinates are also negative. So that means sine is negative. So in quadrant 3, both cosine and sine are negative. Tangent can be rewritten as sine over cosine. So we have the tangent being sine is negative, cosine is negative, and negative divided by negative is a positive. So we have cosine being negative, sine being negative, and tangent being positive. So in quadrant 3, only tangent is positive. So let's erase our little scratch work over here. And let's look at quadrant 4. Okay. In quadrant 4, all of the x coordinates are positive because we're heading over, then going down. All of the x coordinates are positive, so that means cosine is positive. Let's look at the y coordinates. All of the y coordinates are negative because we're going down. So we've got sine of theta is negative. And then tangent of theta, sine over cosine. So tangent of theta, let's see, sine is negative, cosine is positive. So in the fourth quadrant, tangent is negative. So only cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So let's write cosine is positive. And let's look at this holistically. So I've got my unit circle over here, and I have identified that in the first quadrant, all of the signs are negative. So if you'll notice, I'm now writing in red, so this should definitely go in your foldable. In the first quadrant, all signs are positive. Why did it stop recording? Oh, it didn't stop. Sorry. In the second quadrant, only sign is positive. In the third quadrant, only tangent is positive. And then in the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive. And we have this mnemonic device, all students take calc, ULUS. And that helps us remember that in the first quadrant, all are positive, sine is positive, tangent is positive, and then cosine is positive. So you do all students take calc, and that helps you fill out that little mnemonic device. And we could use this to find the trig value for any angle theta.